Yeah, but that's different. This is our
Oh, we
chair.
all have that. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Planning Board meeting. At this meeting, we have appointed Councilor Carmel Lockman to act as the chair this evening. Thank you so much, Councilor Lockman, for agreeing.
Just so the record is clear, Mayor, both the regular chair, Keith Brodock, and the vice chair, Michael Graham, are out tonight.
This meeting is being recorded and live streamed.
Do you have the scripts that we usually
I actually
have?
don't. Do you?
Do you, Janice?
I do not. Keith emailed it to me the
Oh,
other day.
What do you need?
we have a script. Well, do we need absolutely that script?
No, you could just let them know. It's
Oh.
the same thing as ours.
Yeah.
I asked for it because they did prepare it. So you did send it to me. So give me a moment and I
Sure.
can find it. Meeting introduction, right here. Here you go.
Oh, good. Thank you, Janice. Here's our agenda. Thank you. Okay, everybody set? Oops. As council just said, we're missing both our usual chair and co-chair, so I got scripted, right, for this. So anyway, oops. Nope. Good evening and welcome to the July 1st. What is it? June 30th. Oh my God, I'm not starting out very well. The June 30th. This is a regular meeting of the Township of Montclair Planning Board. In accordance with New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by posting a copy of the notice on the first floor of the municipal building and by sending a copy to the newspaper designated by the township for notices. This meeting is being broadcast live on Channel 34 and is streaming live and will be available on demand on YouTube. This meeting is a quasi-judicial proceeding, meaning the board has powers and procedures resembling a court of law, and we are obligated to objectively determine facts and draw conclusions from them in order to provide the basis of an official action. Any questions or comments must be limited to the issues of what the board may legally consider in reaching a decision, and the decorum appropriate to a judicial hearing must be maintained at all times. Fire exits are to my right, your left, and the back of the room where you entered. As to the order of the evening, each application hearing begins with the applicant or their attorney giving an overview of the application and the variances that are required, if any. We then hear from any expert witnesses the applicant may have to help explain the application and why variances are required. The board members may ask questions of the applicant, the attorney, and their expert witnesses. If you are a member of the interested public but not a witness in this case, you will have 2 opportunities to speak. At the end of each witness's testimony, you will be given the opportunity to ask the witness questions about his or her testimony. This is not the time to tell the board what you think of the application. To ask questions, you will have to come to the front of the room, give us your name and address, and then ask your questions related to the witness's testimony only. After the applicant's witnesses and any objector and objector witnesses have been heard, members of the audience will have their second opportunity to step forward. At that time, you may express your opinions, positive or negative, about the application. Comments are generally limited to 3 minutes per person. An additional time that the public may be heard is when 1 or more residents present to the board as an objector to the application. Objectors may be represented by counsel and present their cases, including independent evidence and witnesses for the board to consider, after the applicant has finished its case. Different from public comment, objectors and their witnesses are expected to present evidence for the board to consider, as opposed to only their personal opinions, and will be subject to cross-examination by the public and by the applicant. After completion of the applicant's case, objector's case, and public comment, the public hearing is closed, and the board members will discuss the case and vote. You will be able to listen to our discussion, but you will not be able to participate. Okie dokie. Okay. So first up is our roll call.
Mayor Baskerville.
Present.
Mr. Borshoff.
Here.
Mr. Campbell.
Present.
Vice Chair Graham is excused. Mr. Ian Wally.
Here.
Counselor Lockman.
Here.
Mr. Falaise.
Here.
Ms. Willis is excused. Mr. Neiman is excused. And Chair Brodock is excused.
Okay. Do we have any board professionals that need to be sworn in?
I think both of us.
Okey-dokey.
Folks, do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is approval of the minutes of June 16th. I think I gave you some comments just today, so I hope you received them.
I know comments from you and Keith were circulated among the board members, and because I didn't include it in your packets, I have copies of the original minutes in front of you. So I think that the changes were all self-explanatory. The one question was, and I can't answer this, it's about application for the one for 117 Watchung Avenue, and well, the comment about all employees commuting via train and do not require parking. That's what the minutes say, but I believe the resolution says something different.
Yes, I got an email, we all got an email from Mr. Brodock, who indicated that there was a discrepancy between the resolution and the meeting minutes. I sent around an email on Saturday at just shortly before noon, and in my email I said the testimony is at 1 hour, 25 minutes and 30 seconds through 26 minutes and 10 seconds. It is somewhat muddled. The witness said he knows that there's at least one car for deliveries, but doesn't know who drives, and believes that, quote, all, and what he meant was all of the employees come in the train from Queens, I think. I picked that up in my proposed resolution as he did not know whether the employees of the restaurant come in by train, and Ms. Talley's minutes were a little different than that. So this has to be reconciled by the board at this point.
What clause in I've got, I'm sorry, I have the resolution.
Tony, I can't hear you. You gotta
Turn
put
your
your-
mic.
No,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I was looking at the resolution, I'm sorry, not the minutes.
It's on page 3 of the minutes, and perhaps it would be correct if we just say most employees commute via train and do not require parking. Would that be correct? Because the minutes say all.
Most employees, I think that's correct.
It's really, what he said is what you said, you know, so I don't know how we want to correct that. I would just say employees. Don't say most or any or all. Just say employees come by train.
Some employees.
Some,
I
yeah.
don't know.
We don't know if it's most, we just know that.
Or we just take it out, because we
We
don't
could
know.
take it out, yeah,
Maybe if we take it out
yeah.
Sure.
That would do
Out
it.
of the resolution
in the minutes.
and the minutes.
If you don't know if it's correct, because we can't tell from the testimony.
Take them
Take it
both
out.
out.
Off you go.
All right. Are there any other changes to the minutes?
In that same paragraph, there'll be an overnight parking permit for the use of the tenant of the new unit. I thought it was said that there's already a parking permit for the existing unit, and there'll be an additional one for the second unit, is that? So
This
I
is
just.
117. This is the one on Watchung Avenue.
Oh, I'm
It's a-
sorry, this is not an expansion.
This is not rodeo on,
Oh, so they're not adding a unit then? So they're only adding,
it's just expanding that apartment
Expand-
that's
got it.
already on the
Okay.
second floor.
got it, yep.
And as I understand it, the current tenant does not have a car,
Correct.
Okay.
yeah.
But even so, there'll
Yeah,
still
yeah,
be
we
a
still
parking
need-
permit.
right,
And
right.
and the other thing on the resolution, on the drainage, you know, there is, I was kind of curious about how that parking lot would drain, so I went back there, and there is infrastructure back there. There is a catch basin. The parking lot is an L shape, and right in the inside corner of the L, there is a catch basin. It's about 100 feet from the building. So we originally thought here, we heard testimony that And I thought that whole thing to sheet off wherever. So we can't change it. You know, we heard testimony that there is no infrastructure, but I think the way we left it is that they would try to do a detention basin, which probably is going to be pretty hard to do on public land right there, but there is existing infrastructure, but it's left up to the board engineer, I think, to
Yeah.
figure that out.
Yeah, that was based off the mapping that we had available at the moment,
Yeah.
and it didn't show any infrastructure. It's possible that things aren't shown on the map that are
Yeah.
there. It's not uncommon.
So I'm not even sure if putting one of those buildings into an existing structure makes any sense, because all of them just go sheet flow into the parking lot anyway. So by doing it for this one property, I'm not sure if, it's not a comprehensive solution, but I just kind of sort of thought I'd point that out. But I think it doesn't matter with respect to what we're doing, because I think that the board engineer will just take it from here with the owner, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Once they get their plans updated for our resolution compliance review, we'll coordinate those details and make sure whatever's done is the most effective and efficient option.
Okay. So, can we vote, can we vote on the resolution?
Well, right now, let's do the minutes first.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Is there a motion to
So
approve?
moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay.
Okey-doke.
Everybody could vote on that one, Janice.
Yes, everybody was here.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we can move on to the resolutions.
I have a question, please, Chair.
Yep.
I sent an email today out to Planner Talley and Chairman Brodock, and I was asking if, at the start of the meeting, one of them would make a statement regarding the fourth round housing element and fair share plan, because there seemed to be some questions and concerns regarding that after the meeting, and I know a lot of residents in the community had questions and concerns that neither Chair Lockman or myself were in a position to answer that time. So I was asking if, since the chair is not here, Planner Talley, if you could please just give a brief summary about a time frame or what is to be expected, so that everyone, understands the expectations. I know that you got out the information about the public hearing or whatever, so if you could just give that to us really quickly, please. And also, since it's not on the agenda for tonight, I guess the plan is not to discuss that here tonight, but I would really appreciate it if you would give
Right.
that.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
If there's anybody who's here tonight to discuss the housing element and fair share plan, we are scheduling a public hearing to amend the housing element and fair share plan, and that public hearing will be July 21st. It's the next planning board meeting, July 21st at 7 p.m. And it's simply to amend the plan, eliminate any mention of the Martin's Home for Service, and any other changes that the board members suggest be made at this time.
And I asked you, there was something about a 10-day something, and you explained to me what that
Right.
was. What was the 10-day something?
Well, when you amend an element of the housing plan, you have to provide notice at least 10 days in advance. That notice has to be in the paper, so we send it to the Montclair Times, and I believe it will be in this Thursday's Montclair Times. We also have to send notices to all of the surrounding municipalities, the state, the court, and the county. So we're in the process of doing that, but I will not do that until we have the plan amended, an amended version of the plan. That'll probably be in the next day or two.
Thank you.
And it will be posted on the website as well, the amended plan.
Okay, so now we can look at the resolutions. Okay, so for application 2915, 117 Watchung Avenue, we reviewed a resolution memorializing the actions at our last meeting. So can I make a motion to accept that? Is that okay for me to do?
Just the, is the comment on page 3 correct as it is worded?
The one we just discussed?
Yeah, that he, yeah. You want,
That he is, and I'm just going to read it for the record. Whereas the applicant introduced Amit Patel, the owner of the applicant, who indicated that, to his knowledge, the restaurant employs 3 full-time and 2 part-time employees, and that he is not sure how the employees come to work each day, drive, train, other public transportation, etc. The witness testified that he will purchase and maintain an overnight parking permit for the use of the tenant of the new unit. So I guess the language that you're referring to relates to
Right.
his knowledge of the employees of the restaurant.
and that sounds correct, based on the conversation we had. So, okay.
Okay, so I've moved the resolution and we vote on
Second?
it.
All
And
in
it's not
fa-
going to be amended, so
No,
it is
no,
as is.
as is, yeah.
Well,
yeah.
no, I think there's
Oh.
other changes in here.
Oh,
So as amended by Mr. Brodock, with the exception of that one.
okay, as amended by Mr. Brodock, with the exception of what we just discussed.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Okay.
Okay.
So with respect to application 2919, 225 Lorraine Avenue, Daniel and Patricia Rodeo, I move this resolution, or if anybody has any,
There's no resolution yet.
oh, I thought there was a no.
I sent that out, and I was going to ask that if the board could carry that resolution
good.
to our next meeting.
Okay, so
Absolutely.
I don't move that, I carry it to the next meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Okay. So now we move on to old business, which is a proposed amendment to Chapter 347, the zoning law regarding the ADUs. Does anybody have any questions, comment, discussion? We did. I think basically it makes it 40 feet.
I used 40 feet, and I tried to accomplish a couple of things with this
Yeah.
ordinance. We included the basement
Basement.
definition, which we've gone back and forth, back and forth, and back and forth, and this is the version that's been approved by my office and the Board of Adjustment Chair. Regarding the ADUs, what's in this version is the 40 feet. I think that's where we left the discussion at last time. Can't be any more than 40 feet in any direction. I also added, as per the suggestion from Ms. Willis, that we change the measurement for 2-family houses, which really made sense to me, and it apply the calculation of the maximum size of the ADU to the size of the habitable portion of the principal structure, and not the larger
Apartment,
dwelling
yeah,
unit.
Yeah, that makes a
So-
lot of sense, yeah.
So that's that.
So we agree with that, everybody? Yep.
Yeah.
The board had no, it just said 800 square feet, period. without
Right.
the dimension.
Yeah,
Mhm.
right, right.
Okay, and it's still 800 square feet, but the dimensions are
Right.
different, yeah. Okay,
Do we need a motion to send this to the council?
Yes, I think that would be prudent.
Okay.
okay, I make a motion that the proposed amendment to Chapter 347, the zoning regarding ADUs, be forwarded to the council for their approval.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, we're on to new business. So new business, we have application 2917, that's 665, 679 Bloomfield Avenue, Kush Connection LLC. And I believe we have Mr. Trembulac and Mr. Robertson. So I think first off, you need to be sworn in?
Well, maybe
Are you
if-
still sworn in from, and
well,
present
he-
your
he-
credentials?
He does need to be sworn, but I think perhaps after my opening comments.
I'm rushing us out of
It's
here.
okay. We're all in favor of that.
Okay.
Don't want
Sorry.
to slow things down, but.
Excuse
well,
me.
good-
Opening comments from Mr. Trembulac.
Good evening, Councilor Lockman, Madam Chair, for this evening. This is an application for preliminary and final site plan approval involving the former DeCozen car dealership building at 665-679 Bloomfield Avenue. Before I talk about the application, I want to thank the board for the courtesy of scheduling a special meeting for this application. Thank you deeply on behalf of my clients, especially given the time of year we're into the summer season. So, and it's not something the board has any obligation to do, but it's appreciated because my client has been incurring significant expense for leasing this property, leasing a prior property, and it's important that we obtain the necessary approvals from this board and other agencies in order to get this business open at this location as soon as possible. So we're very grateful again to the board for scheduling this meeting and giving us the opportunity to present this application tonight. So Kush Connection LLC was issued a license from the township to operate one of the 3 retail cannabis dispensaries authorized by the township ordinance. Originally, the plan was for my client to operate this business at 135 Valley Road in a small location across the street from Tierney's. I'm not sure, I think a couple of members who are here this night may have participated in the hearings that were held last year when we appeared before the planning board for conditional use approval and then subsequently for site plan approval for the location at 135 Valley Road, and we ultimately succeeded in obtaining both of those approvals for that location. Subsequently, a couple of things happened. Most importantly, this location at 665, 679 Bloomfield Avenue became available, and my client felt that it was a substantially better location for this business for a variety of reasons. Most importantly, really, the fact that this is one of the very few locations on Bloomfield Avenue that actually has any on-site parking, and in this case, an abundance of on-site parking. And as you'll hear as we present the plans this evening, we're providing 29 physical on-site parking spaces that conform to the township's requirements on the site. We're also providing 4 electric vehicle charging stations, which gives us a credit for 4 additional spaces. So we ultimately have 33 parking spaces that are being provided. We still have a small parking deficiency since the requirement is 36, but we're providing 33. The other reason for the change of the location, perhaps less significant, but there were some complications and difficulties with the owner of the Valley Road property, which again led to my client's decision to lease this property. And I do want to note that my client has a long-term lease of the entire property, the entire building. The plan initially is for Kush Connection to occupy about 2,500 square feet in the building, which has about 6,700 total square feet of space, and the other space would be subleased to other retail businesses yet to be determined. So as I mentioned, this is the former DeCozen automobile dealership property. DeCozen moved to Verona, I think it's probably almost 20 years ago. And unfortunately, this site has remained, substantially underutilized, if not totally unutilized, for most of the last 2 decades. We're looking to reactivate the site, take advantage of the on-site parking, and operate this business along with other retail businesses at this location. So we're seeking tonight preliminary and final site plan approval, the small parking deficiency variance that I already mentioned, and then there are several signage variances that we're seeking and that will be discussed by our two witnesses. We also need a waiver regarding the lighting intensity requirements, but that's it. Otherwise, the application fully conforms with all requirements, and you'll see we're proposing substantial site improvements at the location. So I have two witnesses tonight, Ryan Robertson sitting to my right already, followed by J. Michael Pietry of Pietry Engineering, who will review the site plan in detail. Also, my client's available to answer any questions that might arise during the hearing. So having said that, I'm ready to proceed. Unless the board wants to mark exhibits first.
Not ready for you.
We'll get to
All
you
right.
eventually.
A1 is the application, A2 is the certification of taxes paid, A3 is the proof of publication, A4 is the affidavit of service, A5 are the engineering drawings prepared by Pietry Engineering, last revised April 30th, 2025. A6 are the architectural drawings prepared by GSA PC, last revised 4/25/25. A7 is the report from the police department provided on March 5th, 2025. A8 is the Development Review Committee report dated March 7th, 2025. A9 is the letter from Pietry Engineering dated April 30th, 2025. A10 is the Solid Waste Management Plan dated April 30th, 2025. A11 is the Alta Survey. A12 is the engineering report from Neglia Engineering dated June 11th, 2025. A13 is the Planning Department report dated June 24th, 2025. A14 is the drainage statement provided by Pietry Engineering dated January 10th, 2025. And A15 is the title report, which was provided, I believe, on Friday. And I gather A16 will be the copy of the PowerPoint presentation.
Okay. So I'm ready to proceed with Mr. Robertson, who now needs to be sworn.
Sir, do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Would you please state your full name and business affiliation for the record?
Ryan Robertson from GSAPC at 7 Oak Place in Montclair.
Madam Chair, I'm presenting Mr. Robertson.
If you can
Can you
move
hear
it
me?
closer to you.
I don't have to be standing here anyway.
Oh, there's, all right.
Yeah, this one is not lighting up.
Okay.
Testing. Should I restate my name and affiliation?
Uh,
Okay.
I don't- Okay,
That was Ryan Robertson from GSAPC, 7 Oak Place in Montclair.
okay. Madam Chair, I'm presenting Ryan Robertson as an expert in the field of architecture. He testified 2 weeks ago. Can you confirm that your license is still in good standing, hasn't been revoked or suspended in the last 2 weeks?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. Phew.
I don't check my email that often.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so Ryan, you prepared the architectural drawings as well as PowerPoint to assist in your presentation this evening, correct?
That's right.
Okay. Do you want to begin by reviewing the PowerPoint
Sure.
and
Okay.
discussing the plans?
The first slide we have here is the existing site survey by Lakeland Surveying dated November 18th, 2024. Give some context of what's the surrounding area. This is the Delta gas station to the south. Lot 10 on this block, located up here, is a PSE&G station, a 2-story brick building. Mostly brick and louvers face our site, but there are a couple windows at this corner right here. Lot 15 on this block is right here. It's a 3-story brick building with business use on the first floor, a physical therapist office and a dry cleaner, with apartments on the upper floors. There are no apartment windows on this facade here that face our site. And the some information on the lot itself. It's an interior lot, number 14, on the north side of Bloomfield Ave, near the intersection of Valley Road, which is down, would be right here. 225.56 feet wide, and the depth varies 72 feet deep, I'm sorry, over here at the south, and 100 feet deep at the north right here. It's 19,432 square feet, or 0.45 acres. The next slide is just the same image, but with highlighted indicating lot 12, which is a existing asphalt drive that's used to provide access to the rear of this subject property and also to the rear of the Delta gas station. And the building encroaches on this property by 9.2 feet right here. You can see on your handout, you'll be able to see probably a little better where the property line is and how the building is projecting in 9.2 feet. Next slide is the existing floor plan. This is from our consultant's existing conditions dated November 11th, 2024. And as Mr. Tremblak mentioned, the applicant does not own this building but is leasing the entire space at this point. It's 6,994 square feet, single-story commercial building. It's brick and stucco primarily with the glass storefront, and in the rear is some CMU. There's 3 existing roll-up garage doors, one located here, second one here, and the third one here. And the third one is the only one we plan to alter, as you'll see. There's a large overhang that isn't shown on this existing plan, but it's roughly right here. And you'll see it on other drawings. It's currently vacant, and the last use was the DeCozen auto showroom. Next slide. These are a few existing photos of the building. Here's a view of the front facade showing that it currently has some existing nice brick with large expanses of storefront, and this is seen from across the street at Bloomfield Ave. There are 3 existing awnings that are in pretty good shape. They just have some signage from the previous tenant that need to be removed. And then there's a view of the secondary facade, which faces the parking lot. This photo is taken from the existing asphalt paved parking area. You see in both of these photos there's some existing black metal fencing that we plan to remove. You also see the overhang right here that I mentioned wasn't showing up on that last floor plan. And then here is the zoning map showing our location within the C1 zone district. All these images are pulled from Janice's June 24th Planning Board memo. It's in the C1 Central Business Zone, and retail is a permitted use. Cannabis retail is a conditional use. For the proposal, what we propose for this application are quite a few site improvements, which Mr. Pietry will testify to. We propose there's a few site things that I'll testify about because they show up on my drawings, such as this chamfered cedar board-on-board fence to screen off the PSE&G lot that I pointed out on the survey. We propose to infill. Oh, I'm sorry. One second. Yeah, we propose to infill the third garage door that I indicated previously. That's right here, and infill that with storefront. We propose to add 2 doors, one for ingress and one for egress, which you'll see on the floor plan. We'll show you a master sign program for this. This is showing kind of the future state when all the spaces are sublet out. So it's showing more signs than what we're proposing today. We're proposing only this Kush Connection sign that's on the overhang and this monument sign. And the rest of these are part of the master sign program. And we propose new landscaping and a bike rack, which you can see in this 3D view located right here. You'll see it better on the site plan. And a partial interior renovation for approximately 2,500 square feet of demised space within this larger building. For the next slide, this is the proposed landscape plan. This is a colored view of the proposed landscape plan. We're building again, Mr. Pietry will talk about a lot that's shown on here, but we're building new concrete sidewalk right here, entirely newly developed parking area. And there's a few things I want to talk about here because they relate to the landscape plan. There's a center island, which Mr. Pietry designed, that we're filling with plantings. There's a 3-foot perimeter planting strip around the entire perimeter. There's a concrete pad for a trash enclosure located there. The new cedar fence would be located here to screen off the PSE&G building. And we proposed 3 new street trees. An original iteration showed these trees somewhere on the site, and there was a comment, I believe, from the engineer to move those to either street trees, and gave some recommendations on the species. You'll see when we get to the plant schedule, we are calling for these to be the size to be determined and the species to be determined in consultation with the township arborist. And one comment for the February 25th planning report requested that we replace this tree. There's an existing tree already right here that's in bad shape, so we're calling for that to be replaced. Next slide. Oh, let me go back and just point out where that bicycle rack was. It's located right here. So on the plantings, it's kind of hard to read all these, but I'll draw your attention to the little labels that I gave each one, CA, PS, FG. I'll be referring those, and I'll describe the plantings, and I'll show a couple. Most of them are decorative, but I'll show where a couple key ones are located. So if approved, these are, this is where I said that the street trees, the top of that column there, the street trees will be in consultation with the township arborist. The tallest of the plantings, besides the trees, is the Northern Bayberry MP. So you can see MP looks like this. And those are located, we're proposing 6 of them. 5 of them are surrounding the trash enclosure if you flip back to the previous page in your handout. And then there's one in the center island. It's an evergreen shrub that grows between 5 and 10 feet tall. It's highly tolerant of salt and drought. And the next of these plants I'd like to highlight is the Rus aromatica, which is RA, which is this one right here. That one is a low-growing deciduous shrub that's good for ground cover and grows to 2 to 3 feet in height. We call for 20 of them. I will point out where those are on the plan. I'll go back one slide because we show several of them here, kind of screening view of the trash enclosure, but there's also 3 here I'd draw your attention to. We chose them for their height right here because you'll see later we're proposing a monument sign. So we wanted to make sure there's no plantings that could kind of obscure the view of that monument sign. There's also some small, very small ground cover plantings right here, which are the next on my list that I will address. And those are pink tickseed, which are labeled RA. So those are these ones right here. Those grow 1 to 2 feet tall, so they won't obstruct the view of the monument sign. We call for 75 of them. They're dispersed selectively in other perimeter planting areas. And the remainder of the plants shown on this chart are selected and placed for composition and visual interest. All plantings are native to New Jersey, and I'll go through them really quickly. New Jersey tea shrub, labeled CA, is 3 to 4 feet tall, deciduous with white flowers. Blue wood sedge, labeled CF, is 6 to 12 inches tall. It's an evergreen shrub known for its blue-green foliage. The purple coneflower, EP, is 2 to 5 feet tall with purple flowers. The dwarf Fothergilla, labeled FG, is 2 to 3 feet tall with white flowers and excellent fall color. Creeping Phyllox, labeled PS, is 5 to 12 inches tall with pink, purple, and white flowers. And Rosa Carolina, labeled RC, 2 to 3 feet tall with pink flowers. Next page is the floor plan. I've also got a screenshot of the model of the bicycle rack we chose, which can hold 5 bicycles. Here is shaded out areas that are not, well, the tenant is leasing the entire thing, but he plans to build out for this first step, just build out this area, which is 2,483 square feet of the total possible, which is 6,719 square feet. Mr. Kushner's license to operate has several restrictions for the first year of his operation, the square footage is being one of those restrictions. So here's the newly proposed storefront inside of that existing garage door. That will lead to a secure checkpoint, this first room, which will have an accessible unisex washroom for customer use right here. The washroom will meet all accessibility requirements for maneuverability, clearance and access, including a 67-inch turning radius, which I show here. The sidewalk access from the ADA parking spots, which are down here, is also ADA compliant to the front door. The sales floor area is 740 square feet. That's this middle room right here. That will consist of checkout counters, displays, ordering kiosks, and bud tenders. The corridor behind that door leads to the back of house area. And there we have a staging and fulfillment area of 113 square feet, a general manager's office of 103 square feet, an employee area of 344 square feet, and a vault of 432 square feet. There are 2 existing washrooms that you see there to remain for employee use. And we plan to build this new demising wall right here. We plan to infill this opening right here leading to this space, and we plan to infill this existing overhead door. Again, I said the area is shaded out are for future tenant use or for expansion. No changes to the interior or the storefronts of those areas that are shaded out. And the existing outdoor utility meters are located right here there and are proposed to remain. Deliveries for the product will come through this lot 12, which is kind of like an alley. And you'll see Mr. Pietry will testify about a dropped curb right here, allowing for through traffic. But the vehicle will come here for deliveries and enter this secure door into a secure area. Ideally, product delivery would be on at a time when only one employee is on staff. The management would coordinate that scheduling. They would grant access from the alley or / drive to this secured merchandise area inside the vault. Other security measures, the vault will have managed access to only certain employees. Product as needed will be transferred from this vault to this staging area, and from there it will move to points of sale on the sales floor. The secure checkpoint is another security measure to ensure that IDs are checked and ensure that they can control the number of patrons coming in at any given time, depending on the staff, depending on the sort of experience they want to provide and how busy they want it to feel. And then the reason for the double doors is so that you come in, you get your ID checked and you come in, and then as you leave, it's kind of a straight shot out to ensure kind of a quick, organized exiting after a purchase and keep the customer traffic very organized and fluid. And if needed, Mr. Kushner can testify to the numbers of employees and the hours of operation. Next slide is the roof. There are 4 existing rooftop units. Those will either be reused or replaced in the existing locations. What will be new are some equipment screens, so there will have to be 2 of them because they're kind of 2 different roofs. Here's a roof screen detail, which will be a new metal louver equipment screen, approximately 42 inches tall, and the style will match the trash enclosure, which I have more details on the next page. Here is the picture of the trash enclosure we've selected. It is not showing a roof, but we've been working with them to customize this design to add a roof as required by the township ordinance. And the township ordinance requirements for the trash enclosure, 281.81 subsection H, lists that it must be minimum 5 foot high, max 7 foot high, with the walls on 3 sides and a gate on the 4th side. Our enclosure is 7 feet tall at its highest. We'll have a sloped corrugated metal roof. The style is a black powder-coated aluminum louver. The ordinance also requires this to be placed on a concrete pad, which we've coordinated with Mr. Pietry's office. There are pipe bollards shown inside of here to protect the frame of the enclosure. The dumpster and any containers that are stored within will be shared by all the tenants if they get filled by other various tenants. And we're confident that the single dumpster and the size shown here is enough capacity for the cannabis facility's anticipated output. And the applicant has been in touch with a private hauling company who confirmed that they can schedule additional pickups if additional demand demanded it. The days of the week will be determined by the need, and the hours of the day will be determined by the applicant, but most likely early mornings to not disrupt the parking. Next, I have the elevations. I can't read those notes. I have to pull up my... So we've got the north and south elevation shown here. The top one is the north, and I'll go through the keynotes. You could see at the top here is the mechanical equipment screen. Below that is the existing stucco exterior walls. We propose that they remain, but that we clean the surfaces, patch, repair, and repaint any areas that are in need. And there are a few areas that have little dings in them. There's an existing stucco finish to remain at the overhang. There's the proposed new storefront below here, proposed security cameras right there, a new proposed wall sconce, just decorative wall sconce, typical of 5, just one located right here, and the other 4 are on Bloomfield Ave. These are all part of existing spaces that are not being touched, so these are the storefronts to remain right here and here. Those are the utility meters I mentioned to remain. And here you see off to the side the location of our monument sign. You can see it in context and in scale, and I'll have more details on that. And the south elevation, you could see the side view of the existing awnings to remain. This is the Delta gas station kind of hides most of this. You don't really see this in context like this. So the front part is the stucco, and then the rear is brick. The brick we plan to just clean. It looks like it's in good shape. And the next slide shows the east and west. We'll start with the east, which is the top one. This area kind of shaded dark shows the existing overhead garage door that we plan to infill and match with the adjacent existing brick. There's currently some infill next to this existing door that's stucco. We plan to paint that brown to more closely match the brick color. There's other areas of CMU here that we plan to paint brown just to make this whole rear facade look a little more inviting. Right now it's a little stark. It's just brick and then gray CMU. So we're just going to paint the CMU. Existing roof scupper to remain. And then on the west elevation, we've got the sign. So this is, as I mentioned in that 3D view, it showed all sorts of signage. Here you see just what we're proposing. Just the one Kush Connection sign right here and the monument sign right here. And the 3 awnings to have the signage removed from those awnings. Here you see the location of the bike rack and the existing brick parapet all to remain. No additions, no real changes to the exterior at all except for some painting, some cosmetic things, and really the main thing is infilling that garage door with the storefront. Next we have a slide here talking about the conditional use requirements for the cannabis. So there are 4, this is taken straight from the memo, there are 4 A, B, C, and D conditions. One is no cannabis establishment shall be allowed as a home occupation. That doesn't apply to us. No cannabis establishment shall be housed in a vehicle or any movable or mobile structure, which we don't propose. A buffer zone, the primary entrance of the cannabis establishment may not be closer than 250 feet from a primary entrance of the nearest pre-existing public or private K through 12 school or childcare center licensed by the state of New Jersey. And here is a diagram that Ms. Talley prepared, or her office prepared, showing that we meet that requirement. We're 1,041 square feet from the nearest location, which is the Montclair Pre-K Center. Next slide is showing variances and waivers. We have, as Mr. Trembulac outlined, we have 5 variance requests and 1 waiver request. I've highlighted 2 of them in green here, which will be handled by Mr. Pietry. Those are related to parking and site lighting, and I'll address the remainder. They're all about signage. So this is just a slide showing kind of an overview of our approach to how we figured out the signage. As you saw, we are only improving this portion of the space right now, the blue area, but Kush Connection plans to expand to this wing, which would make this, we'll call it tenant A, and then I just designated based on the applicant's desire 2 different tenants. We'll call it tenant B, and the pink we'll call tenant C. The wall signs, per the ordinance 347-110.1, section 5, it's a 24-inch max letter. We're proposing 17-inch, and 247-110.1, subsection 4, designates that it's 1 square foot per linear foot of frontage. The problem we have is without this blue wing, we only have this little tiny bit of frontage, and it's not even street frontage, it's facing the parking lot. So by expanding this way, we achieve a couple things that I'll outline for you to get signage that's compliant in the future. The original, I just said this 2,500 square feet gets us 0 linear street frontage, only 12.9 linear frontage facing the parking lot. But by expanding into this overflow area, that frontage that faces the parking lot increases to 39.7 linear feet. And by expanding in this overflow area, we actually gain some frontage that faces Bloomfield. And that dimension is 39.6 square feet. So again, that's a future condition. Here we see the Bloomfield Ave facade showing each of these signs. And I said it was tenant A is blue, tenant B is orange, tenant C is pink. I've labeled the signs A1, A2, B1, B2, and C1. All the wall signs that we propose and that are proposed in the master sign plan are compliant with the max 8-inch projection. Sign A1 is the only one we're proposing today. It does not comply with the 12.9 linear feet we would be allowed, but it easily complies once we expand. And I'll go through each of these other signs quickly. Sign C1 for this tenant is simple. It only has one frontage right here, which is 49.3 linear feet. And with the 17-inch letter height restriction that we really established by placing a sign on this overhang, that's how we came to the 17 inches. We're just going to apply that to all other tenants. Once you do that, based on the linear footage you're allowed left, you're going to be well under the 49.3 square feet that is allowed for tenant C. Tenant B is kind of like a corner tenant. They have one frontage facing Bloomfield, and then they have another facade that faces the parking lot. The Bloomfield frontage is 36.3 linear feet, so they're allowed 36.3 square feet, which this sign would comply. And then there's 41.3 linear feet that faces the parking lot. You'll see on the next slide. That one also complies. Both signs are 17 inches high. And A2 is our future Kush Connection sign that we would propose right here as kind of the anchor tenant signage to be located in this middle of this brick parapet. Based on that new 39.7 linear feet that we would have right here, this sign measures at 27.5 square feet and thus would comply. Here is around the corner where we see the secondary B tenant sign that complies. This height is different than the ones on the frontage facing Bloomfield. This is to align with the overhang signage, the one we're proposing today. Also, if you can see on your handout, there's a couple other sign types. There's E signs, which are just showing the maximum allowable window signage for each tenant as part of this master sign program. The F signs are the reverse cut address letters, which would go on each of the storefront doors for each tenant. And the D sign is the monument sign, which I'll show you in another slide here. The wall signs are to be halo lit LED mounted on stud packs, individual aluminum channel letters. So per the Janice's letter, a variance is required because the wall sign extends beyond the storefront of the retail use, and the proposed 22.43 square foot sign exceeds the maximum allowed, which is 11.25.
Which sign is that?
That's
you're
this
talking
one.
about that requires the variance that you just mentioned.
That's the only one we're proposing, this one right here.
Okay.
Because it doesn't comply, because we only have this frontage right now. And that's a function of the fact that our applicant can only occupy 2,500 square feet for the first year when he's operational. But once he expands, if we came here and asked for that sign, we'd be allowed it.
Okay.
Another variance required is that it permits one wall sign per tenant and 2 wall signs are proposed. I don't know if that's, I think there's a section 347-110.18 which says that if you're facing a parking lot, it can be considered a frontage. So I think we would be allowed 2 signs.
The issue is the sign on the front of the building adjacent to the front sidewalk on Bloomfield Avenue. That sign, it's not over a storefront.
Right.
That's the variance.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Okay, you're having 2 signs. One of those signs has no relation to a storefront, so.
Gotcha. So if there could be one here. Well, it wouldn't be
Well,
over our storefront, though.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
see what I mean?
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
getting an extra sign there that's not related to a storefront. That's a variance.
Okay, gotcha. So we would be allowed one here, probably.
Well, you're getting a variance for that one.
For that one, too?
Well, because you don't, because it exceeds, you're allowed to have a sign, but it's not over the storefront, and it exceeds the maximum size because your storefront is so small.
Yeah.
And then you're putting the second one, and there's a variance for that, too.
Okay, gotcha.
But I understand, you're not putting the second one up, you're just
Right.
proposing it as, the board would have to grant that variance tonight, or you take it out of your signage plan and come back for that.
Gotcha, okay. Okay. And next, let's talk about the monument sign. Here's the proposed location of the monument sign. Wrong thing. Here's the colored landscape plan, and then a little blow up here showing that area. So this is that first ADA parking space, a 3-foot deep planting bed, and that's where we propose to locate this monument sign centered on the parking space. Here you see the dimensions of it. This seemed to be the best location for a monument sign. I believe this was at the suggestion of someone at the DRC, and it requires a variance, but we like the idea. It helps with traffic into the site, and I'll let Mr. Pietry testify about that. But there are 2 variances associated with this. One is you're not allowed a monument sign unless your building is 15 feet back from the property line, and we're 0 feet back from the property line. So there's nothing we can do about that. And then the other one is the monument sign must be 5 feet back from the property line, but we're only 7 inches, this distance right here. Some details on this proposed monument sign. It's powder-coated aluminum frame with a brick base down below. And again, we pulled everything up high so that the plantings won't hide anything here. The tenant slots would be up above. Those would be individual channels, non-illuminated. You're allowed a 2-faced monument sign as long as the angle doesn't exceed 30 degrees. So we've designed it to comply there. You're allowed a monument sign to be 6 feet tall, so we've just maxed it out to that height. And all the letters here for tenant A, tenant B, tenant C, non-illuminated with individual channel letters. The next is showing the master sign plan, all the different signs, A1, A2, B1, etc. It shows the mounting, location, size, material, content, and lighting for each sign. I think I've covered most of it in the previous slide, so I think I'll skip over that. We can come to this if there's more questions about it. And same here. This is just a snippet of sections of the ordinance that were included in the drawings for us to come back to during the question session. And so that's it. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you,
No-
Mr. Robertson.
No further questions.
Does the board have any questions? Oh, and you.
It strikes me that this site is quite similar to the Ascend site on Bloomfield Avenue in, I guess it's Bloomfield or Newark?
I think so, yeah.
Are both sites roughly the same size?
I'm not sure. I'm familiar with the site, and I've seen the signs for the ingress. I studied that for a minute, but I didn't look at all at a site plan for that. I couldn't tell you how I wouldn't have a guess. But the applicant might have a guess because he's studied, competing businesses in the surrounding area, so maybe we could call him to get his advice. I'm not sure.
I also had a question about the landlord's requirement that the applicant only use 2,500 square feet in the first year. Do you know the genesis?
So that's not the landlord. That's not a landlord requirement. It's his business license requirement through the state.
As a result of state or the local statute?
It's a state license, or what is it called? A micro license? Yes. Yeah, which limits the size to 2,500 square feet until the business has been in operation for more than a year, at which point it can expand to larger space.
Can expand to as much as you want?
Yes.
As big as you want?
Yes.
Okay.
Is it therefore still the intention of the applicant that there will be different sublessees in, I think you called it A, B, and C? So B and C will have different sublessees?
That's the intention. It could turn out to be one tenant, but, we're assuming it would be two tenant spaces, and that they would be retail uses.
That was really going to be my question. What kind of space, what kind of use would, just generally? I know you don't know.
And my
but-
client doesn't know. He's considering a number of, but they would be retail uses with the, with the same parking requirements that we're committing to.
And in terms of the deliveries at the back, maybe this is for Mr. Pietry, but those doors, it's all going to be covered over. The only ingress into the building is through that one door. And everything else is going to be covered over.
Right. Everything is currently covered over except for overhead door.
And that is going to be...
It's going to be infilled, yeah.
So none of that will exist anymore. It'll just be the one door in and out.
That's right.
And if I...
I think that's what he's talking about. The rear entrance is what you mean for the
just rear-
delivery. Yeah.
It's the
Just
rear entrance door.
Just the rear, okay.
Yeah.
And there's the front door too, obviously.
Yep, that's right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I just have a quick question, and you just used the term again. I just want to make sure I'm really clear when you use the word infill, because you used it twice on page 8, once
Okay.
on page 12, and right now you just said infill. So what exactly is infill?
So this is an existing overhead garage door that's maybe 8 feet tall, 9 feet tall, I'm not sure. For security reasons, we don't want that to remain. Somebody could easily break into something like that, so we're going to remove that and infill it with masonry. So build a new wall, a new masonry wall
Oh,
that
masonry.
matches the existing construction. I think
Okay.
I said infill here as well. That's another masonry wall that we could infill with
Okay.
masonry or a stud wall.
And the other page, I know you said stucco. Okay. I just wanted to make sure that we were all talking about the same thing. Thank you.
Sure.
Anybody else?
Carmel, I have a question.
Yep.
There might be a lot of changes in this neighborhood. We know PSE&G is in the process of trying to relocate its substation. I know that the adjacent property, the gas station is for sale, has been for quite a while. Is there any possibility to improve the facade that's visible from, I guess you call it the
From
southern
Valley?
facade? Well, that's too, Valley, I think your infill will be brick to match, so I think that's okay.
Mhm.
I'm a little concerned that facade will be very visible once the substation comes down. And perhaps, we can put a fence up because that's the back of this building, to help screen it from view from Valley Road. But also, the portion of the building that's visible, I think you called it the south side, it's adjacent to the gas station.
Next to Delta, where you see a little bit of it.
You see the stucco part, and behind that is brick.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Is it possible to replace the stucco part with brick to match the rest of the building? Because that is visible.
I think since the applicant doesn't own the building, I don't know
that's
that they would want to do that, but I see what you mean. It would look better. I don't know that they could even affirm that they would do it without their landlord's
Yeah,
approval.
they could.
Yeah.
just bear in mind that that whole side might become more visible and be a little sensitive to what it will look like. I think right now it's hidden, largely hidden by some gas station signs.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Well, the facade on the other side,
Your microphone, please.
the facade on the other side is the same material, right? So if you go around,
Yeah.
so it's a stucco that faces the parking lot as well as a stucco that faces the garage. So they match from that perspective.
That's right.
But it doesn't make them any better looking. And also, you've got, right where the entrance to that gold-colored tenant, you've got gas meters and electric meters right there. I know it's hard to do that, but that's not the greatest thing to, I'm not sure if they could be screened or something, or...
Yeah. Yeah, I think they could, some of that can maybe be moved into an indoor closet or something too, but again,
Well, I'm
that,
not suggesting moving them, but if there's anything just to...
just to screen them, well, we do,
Sort of they greet you as you,
yeah, we do have some plantings there. There's a FG, which is a,
but it's not Kush Connection's door. That's if I got it right, it's a door for a future tenant, right?
yep, that's right. I'll go to slide 6. Wonder if I can zoom in there a little bit. So we have some very low ground cover plantings right here, and then a larger plant right there. I think if it was a concern, we could do something, I think this one's probably 2 to 3 feet tall, and these are a little lower. We could go with something a little taller there too, to screen it with
Whatever-
plantings,
yeah,
I think.
Whatever the utility company would accept, I guess, right? 'Cause
Yeah.
You can't get too obstructive. Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Mr. Campbell?
Going to hold off, but I'm curious, how are you thinking about the parking relative to the employees and the customers of each of the businesses? So there'll be 3.
Yeah, the civil engineer is going to go over the parking
Got
plan
it.
in some detail, but
Okay.
we do have designated spots for the employees, which he'll testify about.
Got it.
Yeah. I have a couple of questions. Did you? No? Okay. So we are looking at this application as if you're going to expand, Janice? Is that how we should be looking at this?
I think that's the applicant's plan. I believe
Yeah.
you have to be a micro business for a year,
Right.
and then you can expand your license.
Right, so we're looking at this as if you're expanding into that space on
Right.
the left. And, because we really don't want you to have to come back, right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm really concerned about the signage, because this is an area where it's not easy to go past it and then try to get around if you miss your turn. So do you feel comfortable that this sign is visible enough so someone coming, going west on Bloomfield Avenue, going east on Bloomfield Avenue will be able to see? I mean, I would prefer to grant variances to make the signage so that you can see it without missing your turn and then, having to scoot around all over the place. You feel
Right.
comfortable about that?
Well, I think that's part of the reason we were proposing the second one on Bloomfield. So people coming, I guess, heading north would see that. People at the stoplight over here, I'm zoomed in now, but I'll
Oops.
zoom out. Down this way, there's the stoplight. I can't remember which street. This sign right here would be highly visible for people that are just stopped at that stoplight.
Which sign are you talking about?
The sign that's mounted on the overhang.
But that's not isn't that facing the other direction? That will be visible for people going eastbound?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. And then in terms of like turning in and turning out, I think Mr. Pietry will testify a
Yeah.
little bit of that with some of the signage and how we want to direct traffic into here. The monument sign also is intended to help with that.
Is the
But-
monument sign, excuse me.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The police have advocated that there be some
Bollards.
barrier in the middle of Bloomfield Avenue to prevent left turns from eastbound traffic, right? And that's something,
We're aware of that. Mr. Pietry is going to address it. That's ultimately a decision for the county. And, you know, I think the county is not in favor of that, but Mr. Pietry can discuss that. We have no objection to it, but it's in the middle of Bloomfield Avenue, so beyond our jurisdiction, obviously.
I believe their position is it's an illegal left-hand turn, because it's a solid double
Right.
line.
Right.
Right.
Even now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
people do it all the time, going into
course.
Whole Foods, wherever, yeah.
Which I forgot to mention when I went over the monument sign. We have an arrow. We have an enter and an arrow here for northbound traffic, so people are making a right-hand turn in, and we omitted it from right here so that we wouldn't encourage anyone to cross over. That's-
I would say also that a majority of people that will probably frequent this location are familiar with where it is and what it is, and so it might at least mitigate some possible problems, and I imagine anybody can speak to it, but repeat clientele is probably the majority of clientele that would come, so.
Yeah.
At the very least, it might not, I mean, I hear what the issue is, but
Yeah.
it might not be a massive problem.
Just with respect to the monument sign, is that like a cube, so you can see it from different angles?
Yeah, it's a cube, but it's trapezoidal in plan view. See that?
Yeah.
So yeah,
Okay.
it's 30 degree is what the ordinance allows. It doesn't allow anything sharper than that.
But
Or
it's,
wider
it's
than
it's
that.
basically got signs on two sides.
Yes,
Yeah.
Signs up, 2 sides or 3 sides?
2 sides,
Just 2?
Yep.
Okay. And how high is it?
6 feet.
Okay, so there's that sign, there's the big one on top of whatever, the middle of the building, right? And then
Mhm.
there's a little sign on top of, way back, right? And there's nothing, though, if I'm coming along, going west on Bloomfield Avenue, there's nothing on the side of the building on tenant ABC
Right.
side, so no one would be able to see that,
Right.
no.
That elevation, Janice was talking about that, it's deceiving. You don't see as much of it as it looks like. Maybe there's a photo in the memo we can refer to
There's
that.
a photo in my memo.
Yeah, I thought so.
Okay.
On page 5. You can see the gas station
Yes, yeah.
has a blank sign there. And there's it looks like a charity box. I'm not quite sure what kind of box it is.
Yeah, I think that's a clothing drop.
Yep.
But there's no sign plan for that side underneath that light.
That's right.
Okay. Okay, moving away from signs.
I mean, we'd be happy to add a C2 sign for tenant C as a condition of approval, just to add a sign. We wouldn't have any objection to that. Just make sure that that tenant has some visibility for people heading west, like you
Yeah.
said.
I mean, it seems like a logical spot,
Yeah.
you know? But,
I don't know who owns that light
I believe it's the gas
Gas
station.
gas station, right? And that would
Some
make things
light.
hard, but
okay,
And
Gas
this,
station may not be there much longer.
yeah.
good.
Quick question on the lease. How long is the lease that you've got? Is it triple net and with extensions, or what's the term?
20 years with 2 10-year extensions.
20 years with 2 10-year extensions.
and
20 to start out with, and then 2? Oh, wow, okay.
this may not be a question for you, maybe a question for him when he's up here. We keep speaking about expansion. Is there a plan to make it a grow in the front?
No, his license doesn't allow that.
Is he going to apply for one since he has all the space?
And we'll have to ask him that, I think, yeah.
Well, we're maxed out, I think, on licenses for
Yeah,
growers.
I think there's
yeah.
also problems with like vertical integration, right, to distinguish the growers from dispensaries. Dispensaries.
No, he's not growing. No.
No,
No, he's not growing. He's just selling.
yeah.
It's a
For
different
now.
Well, it would require a whole new licensing, so.
Okay,
First, he's trying to get the dispensary open, we'll worry about.
So, maybe this is for Mr. Pietry, but is there any plan to do like a drive-through pickup? You know, like we had for the old Ascend, was like there was supposed to be a drive-through in the front and someone would come out and give the customer their product. and then they drive away. There's nothing like planned for that. I mean, I guess it could happen. There's nothing prohibiting it.
Yeah, we didn't plan for it.
Yeah.
It would require removing some parking spaces, so it's not part of what we're proposing here today.
I don't think we permit drive-through uses in the central business district.
But we did for Ascend. Remember, there was a parking
Well,
spot.
it was
There's a
actually
con-
curbside pickup is what they
Curbside
called it.
pickup, that's what
Yeah.
I'm talking about, yeah, something like that, maybe in front, just, you know.
But
I
I
mean, I
don't
guess
think-
it's not necessary because we have plenty of
Right, you don't
parking.
need it here
Yeah,
'cause-
yeah,
right.
plenty of parking, right. So I did want to say, you mentioned about garbage pickup. So this is near a residential area, I think, on the west side, so garbage pickup, it only is after 7 o'clock. You can't do it before 7 according to the ordinance in town.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so just should know that because it can be very noisy picking up those things and dumping them and all that.
I
And
see.
I wouldn't want the residents who are right there to be affected by that.
Yeah, Mr. Pietry will talk about, someone else was alluding to how we're handling staff parking, but I'll just mention right now, these are dedicated for the staff parking, so if they had to come pick up garbage at 9 or something, they could dictate that these spots are not filled, or they have people
They
move their
move,
cars,
okay.
so.
Are there any, this may be a dopey question, but are there any special requirements for picking up the discarded product? There must be some leftovers or whatever. How is that picked up? I mean, if you're talking about,
I don't know.
I don't know.
Maybe the applicant knows.
All right, we can ask him, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I don't, I'm not familiar with any expiration dates or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I don't think it.
Yeah, I think they put stuff on sale if it's about to go, and it goes fast. Probably,
Okay.
they probably never have leftovers.
I don't know, it's never there. I think that was all that I had for now. Okay.
Madam Chair?
Thank you.
I have a
Yes.
question. One question. 'Cause it was discussed a few times about the applicant's plans for future expansion after the first year of operation. But just to be clear, the drawings that were provided as part of this application, that future expansion area was indicated not in scope? And just to clarify, the parking calculation that was provided for the 36 parking space requirement, does that include the plans for future expansion or not?
I'll let Mr. Pietry testify, but I believe it assumes everything is retail, the entire
The
building.
full expanded,
yeah.
okay.
Right.
Just wanted to clarify that.
That's my understanding.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for this witness? Anybody in the public that would like to question this witness? Yep,
Okay.
thank you. Oh, no,
Thank you.
we have someone. Please come up to the mic and state your name, please.
Melissa Collins, 67
Is that on?
Portland Place.
Is the mic on? The green light?
Green light, is it?
Okay, there we go. Melissa Collins, 67 Portland Place. I have a question for you about the expansion. You mentioned that, well, for 1 year, they'll be at 2,200 feet.
Just under 2,500.
Okay, so once that time period is over, do they have any type of restrictions on expanding into the entire building?
He does not, because he's leasing the whole building right now, so it's up to him if he wants to sublease, and as many subleasees as he would like. Or
Okay.
he could take the whole thing for himself.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. So
Yeah.
hypothetically, these tenants that we keep talking about are maybe not going to come into existence.
That's right, and then it would, that exhibit was just showing how we would calculate signage. So
Got
if he
it.
took the whole thing, you just wouldn't have as many signs. He would
Okay.
only be as loud. each
Thank you
one-
for
one-
clarifying, thank you.
Yes.
Anyone else in the public want to question this witness? No? Okay, so Mr. Tremblay, your next witness?
Yes, next witness is J. Michael Pietry. While he's coming up before he's sworn in, I just wanted to correct what my client said. It's been a while since we negotiated the lease. The term of the lease, which I'm looking at, I have a copy with me, it's initial term of 10 years with 2 5-year renewal options. So we have a
Okay,
commitment,
yes.
20-year
Yeah, that's how I
hold
got to 20,
on the
yeah.
entire
Yeah,
property.
thank you.
Okay.
Sounded like a lot.
Ready to be sworn.
Sir, do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Would you please state your full name and business affiliation for the record?
J. Michael Pietry. I'm a principal at the firm of Pietry Engineering in Fairfield, New Jersey.
Madam Chair, I'm offering Mr. Pietry as an expert and professional engineer and professional planner. He's testified before this board on numerous occasions. I would hope you would accept his qualifications, assuming he confirms that his licenses are still in good standing.
They are.
Okay.
Okay, I think you're good.
All right.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Mr. Pietry, you prepared the site plan for this application,
Yes, we did.
and I think it has a revision date of April 30, 2025, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, you want to review the plan for the board? I know you have some exhibits, which I unfortunately neglected to copy, and so we could pass them out to the board, but
Let's see. Okay,
you.
I'll try not to go over too much of what Ryan covered, but just for purposes of the board's edification, what's on the board is an aerial view with your tax map information superimposed over it. Bloomfield Avenue runs through the center of this display, and we'll be referring to it as an east to the right, west to the left. Valley Road cuts diagonal in this direction. And Bell Street is located right here, where it intersects with Orange Road at this kind of funky intersection that is signalized. This property and the properties immediately abutting it are all in the central business central area zone C1. The properties located directly across Bloomfield Avenue are in the redevelopment area zone RA. Nope. Do I do it that way? I don't do it either way.
You have to expand it to full size. You do full screen, and then you'll be able to,
Up. There you go. Or is it backwards?
It has to be in full screen mode.
There you go. Okay. Am I doing this? We do that. Okay. In the existing conditions plan, again, Bloomfield Avenue runs along the bottom. The building that's shown here is colored in the brown tone that's located here. It's somewhat irregularly shaped. This area, this gray area, is basically paved today. It has historically been a display area. Ryan referred to the access drive, or the alleyway, he called it. So there's a separate lot here, lot 12, that runs in, and it services as an entrance and exit to both the gas station and to the subject property in the back. In the existing condition, the subject property is virtually all impervious surface, 97.7%. From a topographic standpoint, the grades on the property slope from west to east and from back to front. In the existing conditions, any stormwater runoff from the site drains directly to Bloomfield Avenue via sheet flow, where it flows to the nearest intersection located down at Valley Road, where it's collected in the county storm sewer system. There is an existing 24-inch pipe that extends under the building at this location, and apparently connects to the storm system in Bloomfield Avenue, but exactly how that occurs, we're not certain. In the proposed condition, We are proposing to take the vehicle display and storage area that it historically serviced the DeCozen dealership and create a parking lot. We're fortunate. We're one of the few sites that along this stretch of Bloomfield Avenue that actually has parking. We are proposing, as Ryan indicated, a total of 33 parking spaces, 29 of which are physical, and four additional spaces based upon EV credits, where 36 parking spaces are required. The 29 physical spaces include 2 ADA spaces, and those ADA spaces are located here with a loading area between them, and they can service any one of the entrances, the entrance to potential C facility on Bloomfield Avenue, B facility here, and so we kind of split the difference as to where that occurs. We have a total of 8 spaces in the rear here that we're going to sign for employee parking or employee parking preferred. There are also 2 spaces at this location near the Kush Connection entrance, which are going to be signed for as pickup only parking. So the question was asked, I figured let me answer it now. There are 4 EV spaces being proposed. 3 of them are surrounding this island here, and then the 1 handicap space will also be an EV space with that charger station located there. We are required to have 1 of the handicap spaces be the first EV space. All the parking spaces that are proposed are 9 by 19 as required by the Township of Montclair. The site will be accessed via a curb cut through a 24-foot wide driveway. Despite the fact that that driveway is one way, we have made it 24 to accommodate both backup and the vehicular movements into the site. A wider driveway will get cars off of Bloomfield Avenue quicker, and that's why the ingress driveway is wider than the egress driveway. The egress driveway will be serviced by a second concrete apron with a curb cut. That's a 15-foot wide driveway. It's located approximately 24.5 feet from the property line. It's important to note that vehicles entering the site and those leaving the site will be right turn in and right turn out only. And the county is requiring that we sign for that. So they will require signage along Bloomfield Avenue indicating no left turn into the driveway, and signage at the driveway that indicates it's a do not enter situation. Similarly, they will require us to sign the exit to not only have a stop sign, but a right turn only sign. As part of the parking lot reconstruction, we are incorporating several landscape islands within the property and along the front property line. Along the building, we create landscape areas and a 4-foot minimum landscape area along the perimeter. Therefore, we will be reducing impervious area on site. The applicant is also proposing to mill and pave the access drive and reconstruct the apron there to service both this property and the adjacent property. That driveway will continue to be utilized for deliveries. As part of the proposed improvements, we will be replacing the entire sidewalk along the Bloomfield Avenue frontage, and we will be incorporating the downtown brick inlay between the tree planters along that same area. As Ryan indicated, our refuse location is back here. It is completely enclosed. It will have a roof, and it also has the ability to have landscaping all around it. The gates open up in this direction so that a vehicle servicing that, and I'll show you the turning templates later, comes in through the entrance driveway, front loading, backs up, comes out the exit driveway, again, right in, right out, even for refuse. As I had indicated earlier, the impervious coverage on the subject property will be decreased, so no stormwater management is required. However, we are incorporating inlets within the parking area both here and here to pick up the stormwater runoff so that it no longer sheets across the curb line. We'll connect into the existing 24-inch storm line that's located in Bloomfield Avenue towards our side. And we are reducing stormwater runoff based upon the fact that we are reducing impervious surface. Finally, with regards to lighting, the lighting plan calls for the installation of 3 pole-mounted fixtures, 1 in that island that we spoke of earlier, and 2 at the perimeter, the westerly side and the northerly side of the lot. Those fixtures will light the parking lot. There is a single building-mounted fixture, 3 fixtures underneath the canopy to make sure that stays lit, and then we have 3 fixtures building mounted along the driveway. All of these fixtures are mounted 15 feet above the height, and they're designed to illuminate the parking lot while minimizing spillage onto the adjacent properties. While the vast majority of the lighting meets the minimum spillover requirement of 0.3 foot candles contained in your ordinance, we do note that the 3 building mounted fixtures do have overflow into that PSE&G substation lot that you spoke of, and that has a minimum lighting level of 0.8 of a foot candle into what is a paved area today. With regards to turning movements, again, we have shown the refuse truck, and the refuse truck can come in off of Bloomfield Avenue, load, back up, and exit. It does require the arrangement of those parking spaces for employees, so that if the business is in operation, employee parking can be removed from that area to allow the access. Similarly, deliveries would come in from Valley. There's a dropped curb into the parking lot at this location. They would require the first 4 spaces of those employee parking areas to be vacated and exit out through the exit drive to Bloomfield Avenue. Okay. From a planning perspective, the proposed use, as Ryan indicated and is indicated in Ms. Talley's letter, is a conditional use within the C1 zone. As outlined in Ms. Talley's letter, the proposal that's before you this evening meets all of the conditions set forth in your ordinance. As such, this is properly before this board, and we believe that we are here appropriately. We do, however, require several bulk variances. The parking requirement for this building is 36 spaces, assuming the entire building is occupied with retail uses. We're providing 33 spaces, 29 plus 4 EV credits. So we need a parking variance. There's also a series of sign variances that are being requested. One is for a wall sign that extends beyond the storefront at the location indicated here in Mr. Robertson's testimony. The second, as pointed out, is there's a sign for Kush Connections that's on the front of the building in a future situation. It's not proposed now. The third is to allow a freestanding sign, a pylon sign at this location, and Mr. Robertson discussed that size of that sign in detail, so I won't go into it. And that the fourth, related to that same sign, is that sign is not permitted unless this building is set back 15 feet from the street. And if so, that sign has to be set back 5 feet from the street. We don't have either of those conditions here, but I'll explain why I think it's appropriate and why it's good planning. Finally, there's a waiver required for the light spillage that encroaches into that PSE&G lot into the back, where 0.3 foot candles is permitted and 8.8 foot candles are proposed. From a positive criteria perspective, we've found what we believe could be considered the perfect site for this proposed use. Unlike the vast majority of the commercial properties along Bloomfield Avenue, this property actually has the ability to provide for off-street parking. As a former car dealership, there's a good deal of pavement available to use, and we believe we've come up with a plan that is both a visual improvement as well as a circulation improvement and a parking improvement. Because as I indicated, this property was primarily used for the display of vehicles and not for the parking of vehicles. We also offer that the proposed provided landscaping along Bloomfield Avenue frontage and along the abutting properties creates an appropriate streetscape beyond what is mere beautification of the site. From a signage perspective, we have a unique situation here. The primary user is going to be located with an entry door that faces the parking lot but really doesn't face Bloomfield Avenue. So the idea of placing a sign on the canopy that parallels Bloomfield Avenue is a good one from my perspective, because it'll alert the people who are arriving at the site where the entrance to that space actually is. But I think in the future, as you know, as the board thinks about it, having signage on Bloomfield Avenue for this use is probably a good idea as well. When we looked at this, we felt that the idea of having the pylon sign by the entry driveway was a good one. Why? Well, people coming up Bloomfield Avenue or even down Bloomfield Avenue can identify the site by the pylon sign, and that pylon sign is by the entrance driveway. We have two driveways. We don't want confusion. It's one-way traffic. You want people to know where to come into the facility. So by placing that sign at this location, there is no confusion. This is where you go in, and that's where you're going to go out. So I think the freestanding sign near the entry driveway is the most appropriate way to ensure that we create safe vehicular movement, not just on the site, but coming into the site from Bloomfield Avenue. As such, I offer that the proposal before you promotes the general welfare, which is purpose A. This is a relatively newly adopted use within the state and an even newer use to Montclair. This project represents a solution to a need within the immediate area. Purpose H, the promotion of the free flow of traffic. Again, the requested signage allows those approaching vehicles to identify the use as well as to understand the vehicular entry point while maintaining their movement along this busy corridor. Purpose G, to provide sufficient space in an appropriate location for a variety of uses. We're setting this use in an area that Montclair has specifically identified as appropriate for this use, and it meets all of the conditions of the conditional use standards. Purpose I, the desirable visual environment. For anyone who is driven by this property, and especially those of us who have walked this property, we believe that the proposed improvements represent a significant visual, circulation, and parking improvement over the condition as it exists today. While we only need to demonstrate one purpose of planning, I offer that all four cited above are strongly supported by a proposal that is before you this evening, and all four provide individual benefits to the public, not just the applicant themselves. In terms of potential detriments, I would offer that the change from a display lot to an actual parking lot will have a positive impact on the Bloomfield Avenue parking condition. I also feel that the signage will have a positive impact on increasing vehicular safety along this route. So in both instances, I don't see a significant detriment. With regards to the negative criteria, I offer that the project represents an overall improvement to the site and to this neighborhood. I don't see any significant detriment to the public good. As I said, I believe that the project services the general welfare. So I offer that rather than a significant detriment to the public good, the opposite is actually true. There's a benefit to the public good. Approval of the variance associated with this project will allow a much-needed use to thrive in this particular location. With regards to the zone plan and zoning ordinance, I again offer that this site is identified by Montclair as one of the sites in town appropriate for this use. We meet the conditional use standards. What we've done here is we've improved site functionality, establishing one-way driveways, improving site circulation, creating landscape buffers, establishing an appropriate refuse area, and bringing back a retail use to go along with all of these site improvements. As such, I offer that the project actually enhances the zone plan and zoning ordinance, and I don't see any potential detriment to that zone plan and zoning ordinance. As such, it is my opinion that the project meets both the positive and negative criteria and is worthy of this board's approval.
Okay. Couple of follow-up questions, Mike. Regarding the monument or pylon sign, given its location, well, and given the fact that the building has a 0-foot setback, is that sign going to be visible for cars traveling westbound on Bloomfield Avenue?
The sign will help delineate the driveway. Because it's higher, the 6-foot height allows that sign to be over most cars. Not all these giant SUVs, but most cars if they're parked along Bloomfield Avenue. So passenger vehicles parked there, you'll be able to see the sign ahead of the approaching driveway, which is a good thing. Will all of the tenant signage be legible from a distance? Likely not, because it's not a big sign. It's only 2 feet deep. So I think that the idea of the signage on the front of the building is important. I think the monument sign delineates the driveway and tells people when to slow down to get in.
Okay. The
But
site-
sir,
No, go ahead.
let me just add one more thing.
Yeah.
If we were to move the sign back to be conforming and 5 feet back from the right-of-way line, you wouldn't be able to see it. It only works because it's up at the property line.
Okay.
Otherwise, the building itself would block it.
Right. Okay, and I think the site plan had contemplated the creation of a new parking space on Bloomfield Avenue in front of the parking lot. Can you talk about that?
Yes, so between the two driveways, it was suggested that we add a parking space. That parking space would be subject to the mayor and council modifying the bus stop that's located at this intersection, because it's an approach to the bus stop. So that would need to happen, but we can't call for a parking space to be created on Bloomfield Avenue. That has to be done by the mayor and council in conjunction with the county. But in the event that parking space can be created, we are willing to stripe it as part of our work.
Okay. And the last question that was mentioned earlier, which relates to the comment from the police department regarding barriers in Bloomfield Avenue to prevent eastbound traffic from turning left into the parking lot. Have you had an opportunity to review that or discuss it with anybody at the county? And if so, what do you have to say?
First of all, our client has no objection to putting delineators in Bloomfield Avenue to prevent left turns. We are willing to put signage. We're willing to put delineators. Whatever is required and allowed by the county. We had conversation with David Antonio from Essex County, who is the person in charge of site plan review there, and he has indicated that Essex County is not in favor of allowing delineators to be placed in their roadway. So that is the initial feedback that we received. We can certainly, in our submittal to Essex County, make the request as a condition of the board's approval, but we can't guarantee that the county is going to go for it. In fact, the suggestion is, don't even ask, but if you want us to ask, we'll ask.
I'd like to speak to that. I think the delineators are a bad idea. I would not do that. In fact, I think that, I don't even know how you would regulate no left turns, because people will, if it's safe, I'd say 90% of the time it's probably safe to make a left-hand turn. There's certain times of the day you're not going to be able to make a left-hand turn in, and putting objects or, barriers in the middle of Bloomfield Avenue just doesn't, I mean, I agree with the county. I don't even know where one exists right now. For the whole length of Montclair, there isn't a barrier. There's dash lines so that you can get into Lackawanna. You can get into Whole Foods pretty easily. There's a break-in lines there, so just thought I'd say that.
There is one in Bloomfield, where McDonald's is.
Bloomfield?
Yes.
You can't make a left turn on, I guess it's Broad Street to get into McDonald's. Maybe you don't go to McDonald's. But you're nice and
Yeah.
skinny.
Oh, on Broad Street.
On
Yeah,
Broad
right
Street.
in the middle.
You have to kind
Yep.
of wander.
Okay.
So,
Well, all right, so, but anyway, that's a lesser of a, whatever.
yeah.
But I just think in general, I think that the county generally, well, I've said my part. I don't think it's,
Can
to
I just,
overregulate it, I think is not necessary.
can I just follow up on his, did Mr. D'Antonio express to you that it was fiat that he didn't want delineators on Bloomfield Avenue, or did he provide a rationale for why he said he didn't want them?
I apologize for looking through the paper, but I think I have the email. On April 3rd, 2025 at 1:04, David replied to our office and said, "We would want no left turns at either driveway, right turn in and out only. We also don't want the flexible delineators, but would prefer the erection of appropriate signage at the driveways." That was his response.
Okay. I have a question, though. Then, what is the traffic flow if you're coming and you can't make that left-hand turn? So people have to turn left at, is it Bell's?
Bell.
At Bell
Yep.
or before?
Bell and then come down Valley and come up this way.
Coming up the other road.
They could
So
turn
here's-
right.
here's the
Yeah.
issue. If that's forced every time, now you're driving
Yeah, through
traffic down other streets
Yeah.
that don't necessarily
Right.
have it.
Right.
So, and then that's sort of at the root of why I think it's generally going to be okay to make a left turn.
Right. There's
And
no
you're not
conversation.
increasing traffic on side
right.
streets and then making a right,
Right.
passing by the parking lot by the.
Yeah,
police
that was
station.
my point, that you're just going all around. So there's, judging by that email, there's no possibility of allowing left-hand turns there, is there?
It doesn't sound like the county is
It doesn't.
inclined to do that. No.
I didn't
I
think
mean,
so.
right turns in, right turns out only, sounds to me like decision's made.
Yeah, but
they
people
were-
are going to do it anyway, so why
Well,
not make it illegal?
We
that's all.
can't,
I know, you can't
Can't
control
regulate.
that, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
not
Okay.
everybody obeys the law.
Yeah.
I mean, the motivation of the county historically has been to make Bloomfield Avenue a highway. That's they want as fast,
just and that's really
fast as
changing,
possible,
yeah.
and it's changing. I mean, we
Yeah.
put curb, we're
Yeah,
trying
we
to
do.
actually slow the traffic a bit
Right,
through
right.
there.
Yeah, so, I mean, I guess you could raise the issue with them, but it does sound pretty definitive. Well, so let me ask you, so with respect to the entranceways to the driveways there, there's going to be some delineation on the sidewalk that separates the driveway, like some different colored brick or something painted, so that people who are walking on the sidewalk, if they're not paying any attention, they'll look down and see that there's, different color brick or something. Is that what's going on there?
Yes,
Yeah.
so the sidewalk is yellow, the
Yeah.
brick is kind of an orange, and what we do when we get to the driveways is this is like I think a stamped concrete
Yeah, okay.
pattern, so that it allows people to understand as they're walking,
Right.
both visually from a color perspective and texturally.
Yeah.
There's a difference here.
Right. And those, you're talking about, there's actual signs that say, no entry. It's not going to be painted on the.
No, there'll be a do not enter sign
Yeah,
at this driveway. There'll be one-way signs within the property here to direct people to the exit drive. We can certainly accommodate a small exit-only sign, entrance-only sign.
and we have so many signs, I'm kind of like for getting rid of some of the signs in town. But
I
anyway.
understand.
Yeah, another question for you. So, was thought given, so how about, speaking of signs, the, that extension part, that thing? Yeah, keep going to your right. No, the road there.
Oh,
Is there a sign there that says this is an entrance?
No, that's not an entrance, it's a service driveway.
Okay.
It's only for deliveries, but it does provide access into the gas station. So
Okay.
it does that. So, you know, we could sign at this location, authorized vehicles only beyond this point. We could gate this.
Are you allowed to do that under the terms of the easement?
That's the question that I don't know. I mean, would I love this to be gated? Yes. But I don't know what the easement says. I think the easement allows exit, opportunity to get to this property, but I don't know that the people who own the gas station lot have the right to come through here, through this whole thing. Not certain. Hmm?
Doesn't that driveway, does it also provide access to PSC&G substation, or do they have a separate driveway?
It's fenced, actually, between the
Yeah.
driveway and
I just
PSC&G.
know, in looking at the title work on that
I know,
goes
they do.
back to 1901.
Yeah.
I was hoping you could explain to me what the title work says, who has the right to access on that property, because I know it mentions the township.
Yeah, I thought it was unknown who actually owns that strip.
It
It-
is unknown.
It is
Yes.
It's
unknown.
not clear who
Yeah.
owns it.
Yeah.
The town records, if you look on, go to the town website and you plug in this lot and block number, I'm fairly sure it has Town of Montclair as
So
the
we own-
owner of the property.
I think I looked it up, and
Yeah, it's unclear.
It says unknown.
What's clear, though, is we certainly have the right to use it. I think that was
Yeah.
the major concern. And I don't think there's any properties other than our property and the gas station that would utilize it, because it's on PSC&G property, and, you know, there's a fence there between the alleyway or the driveway and the PSC&G property.
Wait, you just say it's on PSC&G property?
No, he said there's a
I'm sorry.
fence between
My mistake.
the
yeah.
driveway and PSC&G.
Yes.
So-
The easement says for benefit of abutting landowners. I think that's how it reads, so could be everybody.
So,
Probably was at one time.
Well,
That's
I'm
why
sure
I-
it was meant to benefit the gas station property.
Yeah,
yeah,
the PSC&G property is the only thing in question. Is it meant to benefit them? Don't know.
so we're talking about the gas station being for sale. So what happens when we get a buyer and wants to build something? This all will need to be somewhat
Well,
straightened out, or what?
Everybody has the look, if the buyer of this wants to use this as access, based upon the documents, they have the right to do so.
Right.
But do they have the right to do so beyond where they abut the property? The answer is I don't think so.
But you don't know. Yeah,
Well,
But-
I don't know, I don't think,
but-
I don't think
it's settled.
I don't think the easement limits that. I think the terms of the easement
Yeah.
don't end at the end of the gas station property.
We,
It
we,
extends-
we didn't research the issue of what the entitlement is for the gas station property. We focused on whether, you know.
We had the right to
the
use it.
Yeah, yeah,
entitlement,
yeah.
I mean,
which we-
it's described as an alleyway.
Yeah.
And there's obviously no measurement, meets and bounds measurement of it.
There is,
It's-
actually.
It's a designated lot
Yeah.
on the tax maps. It's shown as a separate tax lot. This parcel is Lot 12.
There are meets and bounds delineations going back to some of the earlier deeds that were in the title report I provided. Yeah, 12 feet wide. It's consistently referred to as 12-foot wide alleyway.
So back to my original question, how are people supposed to know that they can use that to get to your, you said delivery trucks will use that. How do they know that they should be using that entrance rather than the Bloomfield Avenue entrance? Am I misunderstanding?
My client will notify them.
UPS truck comes to drop off stuff to one of your rental spaces.
Well, that's primarily meant to be for deliveries to the
Of product.
dispensary,
Yeah.
Okay,
not for the other tenants.
Yeah.
The other tenants, UPS trucks,
They'll go up
FedEx
the
trucks
front.
would
Yeah,
pull
yeah.
into
Okay.
and unload
And-
from the parking lot.
just my last question, so you wouldn't contemplate using that easement space for the garbage collection, so it can go in and out there?
It could only come in there. If you pulled a garbage truck in here, and you could, they'd still come out here.
I was trying to avoid them having to just make a right turn only.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think the dilemma is if they came in here and picked up,
Yeah,
they'd have to, probably make a multi-point turn to go back out that way.
yeah, okay.
So it's a front-loading garbage truck that you're
Correct.
contemplating?
Correct.
Can you please go back to the part where you're talking about moving the bus stop and then the township possibly giving you some space? Because I'm not understanding why we would want to do that. Or
It has nothing to do with giving us space. So basically, one of the discussions was, when we were in TRC, is can we create an additional on-street parking space between our two driveways? But the area between our two driveways would be considered, I guess, the approach to the bus stop. And that parking space, that bus stop would have to be modified in terms of its approach length. There's a definition, so that that space could be created. It's not our space, it would be a public parking space on the street.
Oh, okay.
between our
That's
driveways.
the
Yes.
part that's not, because
Yeah.
I'm still trying to figure out, it doesn't make, anything that's on the street is not your spot. And so the way you
No.
said it before, it sounded as though creating another spot for you.
Nope,
But it's
public
really
parking.
not. Okay, so then I still don't get why you would be concerned about trying to create another spot there. If there's a bus stop there, why would we want to change that, or for this particular?
If I can answer that,
Yeah,
Mayor,
please, thank you.
I'm looking at, again, as Mike said, this was a comment or recommendation from the Development Review Committee, and I'm looking at the memo from the Development Review Committee following that meeting, which includes the following comment: additional on-street parking on Bloomfield Avenue should be provided. This may require reducing the length of the bus lane. So we just said, well, you could create, if the town council wanted to create a new parking space, public parking space on the street, you could do that, provided that the council also reduced the
Length of the bus
the length of the bus lane that currently exists.
Yeah, I'm just not familiar
It's not-
with that happening in, the many years that I've been at this. This is a new tactic, and then I would want to know if that's what we're going to do from now on, go up and down Bloomfield Avenue and start shortening bus stops so that we can get extra parking. It's just an unusual thing. I'm not familiar with it.
Not our suggestion.
Just
Yeah,
one-
no, I
Yeah,
received that,
yeah.
thank you, right?
One question, the egress driveway already blocks the bus lane, the bus stop, or the approach to the bus stop, right?
The answer is yes, it
So-
traverses across that.
The driveway itself is blocking the bus stop. So the way this is designed with that driveway, it enters Bloomfield Avenue where the approach to the bus stop is. So no matter what, you're going to have to relocate that bus stop, or at least the approach to it, just because of the driveway's there.
But that's been there forever. I'm just trying to
No.
figure,
Yeah,
oh, this is a new bus stop. So
That
before.
driveway,
Right.
that driveway on the western side, if you look at the original site conditions, there were two driveways there.
But
And
now
one
it's
was
blocked by a
fenced
fence, I
over.
believe.
But I think that the bus would have a right-of-way. Anyone leaving the site would
Right.
stop for the bus. But a car is a permanent object that's in the way, that's parked. So I think that the driveway doesn't interfere with the bus as much as a parked car would.
Okay.
So I don't really see.
How far is the head of the bus stop from the?
I'm trying to see it on the image, and I
I
can't.
think it's pretty close to the
Why
corner.
are we allowing to create a driveway that's interfering with the bus stop? To me, would be the question.
Yeah, I don't think it'll interfere with it.
Right, it doesn't seem like that this is gonna happen at all. Like, it's not gonna happen, right?
What's not gonna
shorting
happen?
bus stop.
No.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Unless the council wanted to, but, I mean, I think I was on the DRC at the time, and of course, we're always trying to create more parking downtown, so it seemed like a possibility that you could put a spot there, but clearly you can't, so it was just a suggestion, yeah.
But why are we allowing to put a driveway in the bus stop?
I think that, well, as Tony pointed out, the driveway had existed there already, but there was a fence that prevented it.
Janice, so it
Yeah,
had
you
been
can,
there before.
you can still
See,
see
the-
the driveway
yeah,
apron that's
yeah.
Okay, so
approaching
it had
Bloomfield
been
Avenue.
there.
Then they just fenced off part of the lot,
Okay.
but
Our
Okay.
engineer can
And
help.
Yes.
just to chime in, it's something that we looked at as well as part of our review of the feasibility of potentially fitting a reduced bus stop length. That it's not something that we would recommend just based on the space required for a bus to physically pull in.
Right.
Otherwise, it will likely either spill over into the crosswalk, which is not something we want to encourage either, or what many cases will happen is if it's too difficult for the bus driver to navigate to it, they'll just
Stop in the middle of the
lane
road and hold up
and
all the
do what they gotta
traffic.
do,
There
which
you
is
go.
not something we want to do either, so.
I guess the elimination of that proposed parking space between the two driveways will also improve sight distance,
Yes, it will.
so.
Do we know the answer, though? The distance between the head of the bus stop and the westernmost portion of the drive?
The
curb?
the stop bar for the intersection, hold on, maybe I could do it here. So the stop bar for the intersection is right here. Because this intersection has a stop bar that's
what,
right
Bell
here.
Street? That's the,
This is Bell, and this is Orange. So this is the stop bar, and our driveway is right about here. Because it's about 24 and a half feet in from the property line, so our driveway's probably a car length and a half back from the stop bar.
What's a stop bar?
The stop bar is when you pull up to an intersection,
Yeah.
and there's a white painted line
Yeah.
on the pavement where you have to stop your car, you can't go past that.
Yeah, but the bus can go past that, right?
the bus stop is
Oh,
right there.
The
right
bus
at that-
stop is
yeah.
right there.
At the
that's
stop
the
bar.
stop bar.
Yeah.
But there's a crosswalk there, is there not?
Yes, there's a well,
Yep.
there is not a crosswalk in this direction, there's a
The
crosswalk
other, yeah.
there, but there's no crosswalk there.
I think this is an older aerial image before Bluefield Avenue was reconfigured.
Yeah, you can cross there, because that crosswalk goes to the hotel. Yeah, yes.
Yeah,
There is a
okay.
crosswalk there now.
Yep, they did,
They
you're-
reconfigured the
you are
signals.
correct, there is a crosswalk there based upon the Alta survey that was done in April of this year. Wasn't on the original survey, but it's on this one.
Where is that crosswalk, Mr.
The
Pietry?
crosswalk is located to the left of that stop bar that I just pointed out. So here, the crosswalk is
Yep.
actually one of the most funky shaped things I've ever seen. It's actually straight across on this side and curved on that side.
And actually, the stop bar is farther east now. So it's basically right near where your driveway is.
It actually, based upon the Alta survey, it looks like it's here now. It's actually at or near our property line. It is shown on the Lakeland survey dated 4/17/25, which is in your set. It's this sheet, this is what it looks like. And it does show the current crosswalk as well as the current stop bar location. The stop bar location is approximately, I'd say, 3 feet into our property, so 3 feet from here, about here is where that stop bar is, and the crosswalk is about where the existing stop bar that's shown on this photo is.
I believe your site plan shows the correct configuration, so maybe if you pull back to that.
Let's go back to that. Oh, I gotta zoom out somehow. See if I can figure out how to do that. One more. One more. Thank you very much. Okay, so let's zoom in here, get down here. There you go. Okay. So, there's the stop bar. There's the crosswalk. There's our driveway. So, maybe a car length back is where our driveway is.
So
From the stop
clearly-
bar.
Clearly, a car exiting your lot will need to wait if there's a bus there. That's what it ultimately means.
We'll need to wait if there's a bus there. We'll need to wait if the light is red and there's more than one car there.
Yeah.
But there's nothing that prohibits having a driveway that distance from a bus.
No,
Okay.
the The limitation is to the property line, and we meet that limitation.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Pietry, while you have that up on the screen, there is a black rectangle between, in the landscaped area between the two handicapped spots. Is
This-
that a, no, on the right,
On the right?
the two handicapped spots.
There?
Yeah, what is that?
That's one of those curb ramps, the ADA curb ramps. They got those delineators on them that are red and have bumps on them.
Yep.
Yep.
Can I just ask you another question about the left turn, the prohibited left turn? How does one put a sign, if you're traveling to the east on Bloomfield Avenue, where do you put the sign, and where does it say? Because normally, when it's a no left turn, it's right over your head, and it says, or somewhere, and it says no left turn. So how does a sign work, instructing the driver not to make a left turn in there?
So, right here, there's a sign that's facing that way.
Yeah.
And that sign is a no left turn sign. So if you're coming down Bloomfield Avenue, you see this sign as you're approaching this driveway.
You put that in, wait, in the right-of-way?
It's in the right of way. It's a MUTCD sign, so it's a standard roadway
Okay.
sign, and it's located right at that driveway. So there's going to be a no left turn sign facing traffic that is coming eastbound on Bloomfield Avenue. Now, the county may require us to put a no left turn sign on the opposite side of the street as well. It's possible, but
And no entrance on the other driveway where the
yeah,
sign be there?
there's a sign here and here that says "Do not enter" on either side, and the stop sign is behind it.
Why isn't it put right on the street boundary? You know, you might not even see that sign until you're already making your turn.
The county would require us, the county would request that we keep it on our property if we can.
Oh,
So in
okay.
that situation, you know, but if they allow us to move it out, I have no issue moving it out.
I mean, it just seems like logical that you'd see it better before you actually make a turn. Yeah, anyway, okay.
Have you gotten any kind of final report from the county about this site plan?
The answer is Essex County, it's probably been, I don't know, 15 years. High school was yesterday to me, but the county.
I got to tell you, no, maybe I shouldn't.
The county used to review site plans simultaneous with planning boards. They now wait until after a board has made their decision before they begin their review.
Right.
So anything before the board, the county won't even start their review. They'll give you initial comments if you ask them for them, but that's it. That's all you'll get.
How long you figure?
What?
How long you figure the county, before the county renders its final report, assuming the board acts tonight?
If the board were to act and put conditions on it, we would incorporate your conditions. We would submit what we call resolution compliance plans back for review by your professionals, and simultaneously, we would make that submittal to the county. The county's generally done in 30 days.
Yeah, that's my experience, too.
You know, if they've got issues, look, if you're taking in a major project and you haven't discussed it with them first, sometimes it takes longer. You know, but generally the county will finish up in 30 days.
Based on the questions you've given, Mr. D'Antonio, do you expect that the county is going to approve this plan?
Yes.
You would know, or at least you would have some idea beforehand if the county were not going to approve it.
When we ask questions, we send our preliminary plans to the county so that they can have a look informally. And because we've been working with Essex County, I've been working with Essex County for 41 years now, it's, you know, they'll, if they think that there's a problem with an application, he'll pick up the phone and call me.
I wanted to ask about the left hand, oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, you're on the left.
Just one more shot. So if someone pulls up, they're going to the east on Bloomfield Avenue, and they say, oh, I can't make a left turn, so what do they do? Now, if you go down to the next street would be Valley,
Valley?
Yeah.
and you can't come in the back way, so now you're driving where? You got to go all the way down by the YMCA, look on your phone, come around, come back out to Bloomfield Avenue, back up Park Street. So, again, that's why no left turn's a bad idea, because, if someone gets stuck and if they obey the sign, now they're wandering all over the place, causing probably some more traffic someplace else. So is it?
That's the same problem Whole Foods would have. So it's the same problem Whole Foods has.
Yeah.
You can't make the left turn. The same problem if you're going down Bloomfield
Can you
Avenue.
make a left on Bell and then come right in the back parking lot?
You can if you know,
turns
but most people
anyway.
don't know. I said you can if you know.
It's possible, it's not too bad.
Yeah, the other one's worse. Yeah.
So, I don't know if there's any, I might be in the minority on this, but if there could be any resistance against the county to not, tell them not to worry or something, and then put it in if you have to. Because I think allowing people just to make that left turn if it's.
But change it.
And is it the same thing at the Panera's also?
Yeah, but people,
All of that we're not
But
supposed
they
to do.
they put
Wow.
dotted lines for Lackawanna.
yeah. But do the police actually enforce that?
Believe me, they will. They'll enforce anything.
They do? Mhm. Okay,
I have a question,
Yeah.
please. Can you go back and tell me a little bit more about the EV spots that you have, where they're located? And
Certainly.
how many are we having?
We have 4.
4. How did we decide on the 4 EV spots?
4 is the requirement based upon the state standard.
Okay, for this size?
Yeah? Yes, sorry.
Okay.
So one of the first EV spot on any property has to be an ADA space.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell you why, but that's the regulation. So we have a charger for the handicap space immediately adjacent to it. We've been back and forth on this, where's the best place to put that charger? And what we've found over time is most reviewers want it opposite the loading area. I feel like by the loading area might make more sense, but the question is, will cables and stuff block the access route? The other 2 charging stations are at this location, and they service these 3 parking spaces, which are shown on the plan with that little rectangle that says EV. So when you look at your plans, you'll see that this space has an EV on it, this space has an EV on it, this space and this space have EVs. Why is it there? Well, it's there because we have an island where we can put the charging stations and it won't get hit. So that's a logical place. Could we put them on the outside here? Yes, you could put them on the outside there as well. Generally, the closer these things are together, the more cost-effective they are to build. And often, the build is done by an outside entity that takes these over and they collect all the money.
Okay, no, thanks. I was just trying to figure out if they weren't all required or if they were in a different configuration. Is there a possible way to get like a location where the Amazon people or those deliveries and those types of things could come in? But if they all have to be required there, I guess you can't move them to do like a curve or cutout somewhere.
Well, for instance, if these 2 spaces are designated for pickup only, I'll guarantee a UPS is going to use it.
don't you think that they'll use the street parking?
They may if it's
Yeah,
available.
that's what we
and
see all the
they're
time.
just-
They
They're
just-
just, it's the fastest route.
Yeah, are there parking spots right there to the right of your entrance
what?
driveway?
I don't know what the current striping situation is, I want to look at the survey just so I don't put my foot in my mouth.
Because in my view, that's where UPS and all those panel trucks will go if
Where?
they can. On the street parking,
Oh.
yeah. They don't turn in anywhere.
it looks like
Yeah,
they did.
there are parking
Okay.
spaces with parking meters along the frontage of the existing building.
Okay.
There are 4 spaces there delineated with meters.
I mean, would it make sense for that to be a loading zone? Just throwing it out there.
right?
That's what I
So,
was trying to
Yeah,
figure
right
out,
here,
something,
You don't want to
yeah.
go
there are
Yeah.
four
Yeah.
parking spaces.
So I have another question, and this is, I should know this, but, so if you have EV parking spots, can non-EV vehicles park there?
And not get a ticket.
Yeah.
There are limitations to this, all right? So even if you have an electric vehicle,
Mm-hmm.
if you're parked in an EV space and you're not charging,
Yep.
they can theoretically charge you for it.
But my understanding is that the pleasure of the property owner, how they want
Yes.
to manage. There's no
Okay.
mandate,
From the state?
there's no state mandate on
Mhm.
how those have to be
Yeah.
managed.
Oh.
Right now, the property owner can dictate how they want to
Right.
use those
The
spaces.
difference
Or you could
is,
do a local ordinance.
the difference is if there is a local
Interesting.
ordinance or if there is a third party involved.
Right.
And sometimes the third party has mandates.
And that would be the landlord, third party would
Yes.
mandate it.
Or the builder of the charging stations, right? Because
Right.
it's up to the owner to decide
Yeah.
whether or not they're complementary or they're
Mm.
revenue generators.
Right.
And so if they're like in theory complementary, then they can do whatever they want. you know?
Although I do think the municipality does have the authority to create its own regulations on how
That's
those have
good
to be
to know.
managed.
Yeah,
We don't,
we
we
don't
haven't,
get those whereas.
we haven't.
Haven't
So-
tackled that one yet.
Haven't done that yet.
This discussion actually reminds me of something. When EV stations first started being put in, I thought there were 3 grades. There was slow, medium, and fast.
Yeah, they're all class 2 now, primarily. They're class 2, class 3, right? You've got class 2, which is like medium,
Uh-huh.
and then class 3, which is the superchargers.
Yeah.
And those are the 20-minute full charge or to 80%. The class 2 are typically like 3 to 4 hours. Class 1 is like you're out at home. It's gonna take you 15 hours.
Yeah.
So would it be fair to say that these chargers on this site will be class 3?
Two.
Class 2.
Tesla's, as far as I'm aware, Tesla more or less has the patent on like the superchargers that are able to charge within 20, 25 minutes. All the ones that you see at the malls that are like run by Shell or these third-party companies are typically class 2. That's like the majority across the country right now.
So the question is, are you going to have a class 2?
We don't know.
Ah.
You know, whether we have a class 2 or class, I mean, my understanding is Tesla is the only one that makes the superchargers, and those are proprietary, and you'd have to get them to put them in.
I thought they had adapters that can be used for other types of vehicles other than a Tesla.
Right, but they're adapters for their charging units. It's not for their,
Oh,
it's
not for
it's
the
not for
other
their
way
cars.
around.
It's
Yeah.
that charging unit.
Yeah.
So,
It'll be, it's very unlikely it'll be a supercharger. They're much
Okay.
more expensive. They are more exclusive to Teslas
Yeah.
rather than like the majority of vehicles out there now.
give it time.
So essentially, though, we have 5 parking spots that are restricted use, if you say the 3 EVs and the 2 handicap.
That is correct.
So basically, we really have only 28 accessible at all times, right?
Understand that the number of handicap spaces that we propose is dictated by federal law.
Oh, I know, yeah.
And,
yeah.
and the number of EV spaces is dictated by
By
state law.
yeah.
Isn't that something?
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a lot of EVs around here now
There
because
are,
of the
yeah.
hybrids too. They're plug-ins now,
Mhm.
so people even without a full EV will like,
Mhm.
it's not rare.
So
It's
cars
getting
that
more
are not,
common.
people that are not patrons of the establishment here can go in and get a charge?
Correct.
Okay. Because I'm trying to figure out, you know,
Yeah,
if you're
it
running in to
costs
get a
them-
little bag of whatever, you know, you're probably not going to be charging up. You're going to go home. Okay. Good, thank you.
You're quite welcome.
Anybody else have any, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, quick question. The awning that has Kush Connection on it, that's pretty deep, right? Does it come out, how far does it come out? Does it come out into the driveway at all, or is it more,
It's in this location.
yeah? How, is it pretty high?
I
Just
don't,
think if-
yeah, they used to be able to pull trucks underneath it, so
Okay.
yes, it's high.
All right.
Yeah. It's over the top of the overhead garage doors.
And any of those signs lit in any way, downlit or whatever you say?
Pastor Ryan.
What?
I think, Pastor Ryan, I think he said they were backlit.
Backlit, okay. Anybody else have any questions?
Just one. That was quick. There's a rear yard setback violation, 10 feet required, 0 feet. It's an existing non-conforming. You don't need a variance for that?
No, we don't, we look at existing nonconformities as existing nonconformities. We're not affecting them in any way.
Okay. Does the public have any questions for this witness? Come to the mic, state your name, and ask your question. Nope.
Bueller?
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Mr.
No
Chairman,
further witnesses.
Anybody else? No?
That concludes our presentation.
Norberto rendered a memorandum, and you said you didn't know where that 24-inch RFC, am I saying that?
RCP, sorry.
You don't know where that went to and what have you. One of his comments was that there would be television or some other review of these systems. Is that, more generally, is the applicant willing and will the applicant comply with the requirements of Norberto's letter? And B, is there any indication that you're going to explore these systems in order to render them more efficient?
Well, the answer to your questions, because there were multiple questions, are yes, we'll comply with the letter. I believe that some of the testimony I gave satisfies some of the comments. Yes, we will video the pipe that goes below the building, because quite frankly, it affects our space. If it goes beneath the building and it's broken, then we really want to know before we invest in finishing off a space that's going to cost a boatload of money.
To me, that's interesting because you indicated earlier that you couldn't change the facade because it was your lessee's. Yet, for this, you're willing to go underground and explore and do what's necessary in order to work out the stormwater aspects of the project.
Okay, so we have a pipe that goes underneath a building, and we don't know exactly where it goes, and we don't know what condition it's in.
Right.
If we're going to finish out an interior space on top of that pipe, it's in our best interest to establish that the pipe is clear, functioning, and not going to destroy the money that we're putting into the space.
No argument here.
So it's not a problem to have that pipe videotaped and cameraed and see if there is a problem with the pipe.
And I understand that. I'm just pointing out that there seems to be a disconnect in the way you've approached the questions that the board has asked. That's it.
Well, I didn't answer the question on the facade, but I'm answering the question on the pipe because I'm the pipe guy. I'm the storm sewer guy. I'm the civil guy. I would never recommend to any of my clients that they build over a pipe that they don't know the condition of, because the next thing you do is rip out all of the cases you just put in, because you guarantee that's where the pipe's going to be.
See, and I understand that, and I apologize because you were not the one who testified about the facade aspect. But my point, I think, still remains that there's an inconsistency. The applicant will explore all of these underground aspects that efficient functioning of the system, yet doesn't seem to be.
But there's a difference there. The other question related to improving a building, this relates to repairing something,
Right.
That needs to be repaired.
If it needs to be repaired.
If it needs to be repaired, and, obviously the owner would need to be consulted, but why wouldn't the owner allow for that pipe to be repaired?
I understand. Well, all I'm saying is that from my vantage point, there seems to be, it seems minor that the facade, especially if the building is going to be more exposed, it just seems like a minor fix to have it all one color. That's all I'm asking.
In all fairness to what Mr. Robertson said, removing stucco and replacing it with brick is not a little expense. I'm not saying that replacing a pipe beneath the building isn't a little expense, but improving the facade stucco to brick is definitely an improvement, versus repairing a pipe, I think are on a little bit different levels, at least in my mind.
And the other point would be that the issue came up, or the question came up in the context of, well, something might happen with the PSE&G building, it might be replaced by another building, and it might be the wall might become more visible. On the other hand, something could be built there, or the wall might be less visible. So the requirement that, or the suggestion that the rear of the building should, have a new facade because things might change, I don't think it's appropriate. And again, we can't commit to that. It's not our building.
I just want to point out, it really wasn't, the issue is not so much the rear of the building, but the eastern side of the building. And you can see it now, because the only thing that's blocking it is that gas station sign, which is blank. Where the gas station building starts, that's where the brick starts. It appears that's where the brick starts on the building. So the stucco is visible now.
Roberto, the 24-inch pipe that you're speaking about, and I assume there's no easement for it through the property, it's just there. There's nothing in title that gives Montclair. Is it a Montclair drainage system?
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, it may ultimately tie into the system in the county right away, but to my understanding, that there's no easement related to the township for that pipe.
Everybody good? Everybody asked all their questions? Mr. Trembulak, do you want to sum up?
Do you ask if there's any public comment?
No, I did, and there isn't.
No public comment or questions.
Right.
All I would say briefly is, as I indicated at the beginning of the presentation, I think this is a very appropriate site for this use, and we by allowing us to go in with this retail cannabis dispensary and other retail uses, we'd be reactivating a property that has essentially been dormant for some 20 years or so, and have retail uses which are permitted and encouraged in the central business district. We have an abundance of parking, much more parking than any other location, any other site that I can think of on Bloomfield Avenue, with the exception of, I guess, Whole Foods and then, of course, Lackawanna. We have a minor parking deficiency variance. We also, have on-street parking that's available, and across the street, you have the surface parking lot at the corner of Valley and Bloomfield, and then the public parking that's available in the Valley and Bloom parking garage there. So I don't think the parking variance should be an issue. The signage variances, I think we've provided justification for those, particularly with the monument sign to provide for increased safety. And, there's just so many improvements that are part of this application. New landscaping, new street trees, new lighting, reconstructed parking lot with striping, signage, including directional signage to provide improved circulation, safe circulation, better ingress and egress, reducing impervious coverage by providing additional green space that's not already there, new sidewalks and pavers along Bloomfield Avenue, improved drainage, a whole host of improvements, and I think it's an application that's worthy of the board's approval. Again, we need conditional use approval, site plan, and then the parking and signage variances and the minor waiver for the light spillage that's onto the PSE&G parking area. So really has no impact.
Thank you, Mr. Trembulak. Not to reiterate everything you've just said, but I tend to agree very much that this does seem to be a very good use of this facility. And you've covered all the bases, so to speak, in your recap. The one thing from the town's perspective is this will bring in some property tax revenue that we have not been receiving in the 15, 20 years that this has been vacant. So I think we've covered all the issues, and I would be in favor of this. So if anybody else would like to comment, please do.
I'd like to just articulate if, or maybe Parsley, you can do it, can you just list the variances?
But you need your,
Can you list the variances that we would need to approve? I know they're on the,
Listed in several different locations.
and specifically, I didn't quite understand the signs. One was for size and one was for too many of them, but I wouldn't mind just,
Janice, your mic.
Sorry, the identification sign for Kush Connection, for where they're proposing to open their store, there's a size variance and a location variance, because it's not over the storefront, right? The storefront is on the side, and the sign is over the canopy. So number one, it's the location and the size, because it exceeds the maximum square footage for the amount of storefront they have on the building. And that's, I think the case is made, that's really due to the location of that facility within an L-shaped building.
so there's two variances that you, so
For
it's
that
size
sign.
and then the location
Right.
variance. So
Then there's a
it's-
variance for the proposed sign to put on the front of the building, at a later date when they expand. Because the Kush Connection is not associated anywhere with that storefront on Bloomfield Avenue.
Okay, so then, right now, we're not considering any other signs for the retail tenants. They'll just be blank. There's no signs proposed for the other retail tenants because they don't exist right now,
Well,
right?
all we're doing is, we have the master signage plan, and those signs don't require variances. The question is whether or not you want to grant the variance for that future Kush Connection sign on the front of the building.
Okay, so one variance for the size of the sign on the side, or the one in the back. One
Yeah.
variance for its location, and another variance for the Kush Connection
Right.
on the building itself, okay?
And then another variance for the
Parking
freestanding
is the
sign.
parking one, right?
There's a variance for the freestanding sign, so that's the fourth one.
Freestanding, okay.
You did.
So that's it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else have something to say?
No, I agree. I agree with what you said, Madam Chair.
Good.
I had, I
You've
just
some-
noted what I thought was one condition. Sorry. Sorry, I apologize to the microphone. Install higher plantings to screen the gas and electric meters is something I picked up as a possible condition.
Okay.
at
That
Mr.
sounds
Ian
good.
Wally's.
Okay, so can I make a motion to approve this application, subject to the condition that Mr. Nice just articulated?
Second?
All in? Yes, we do. We're 5, yeah.
We're
One,
5
two.
out of 9.
5 out of 9. Yep.
Where's Mr. Campbell?
He left.
Oh, okay. So we still have a quorum.
Yep, so, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? No, abstain?
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you
Thank you.
thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
and thank you again for giving us the opportunity to come in on a special meeting on a hot summer night.
Yeah, good luck, everybody. Good luck with your project. Yep, bye.
I know. It does.
That's why I wanted to give him a little.
Sorry, we're not done yet. So any, just quickly, excuse me. Any committee reports? No? Payment of bills, we have any bills? I didn't think we had any bills. For the good of the order, anybody else want to say anything?
Motion
Nope,
to
we're
adjourn?
Good. Second, we're off. Thank you.